Hello there. I'm on with Diego Garcia, El Twanguero, and wanted to start by asking, is it okay to record the conversation?
Of course.
Okay, great. All right, sounds good. So, you've been on quite a musical journey. You live in Santa Monica now. You've lived in the States since 2016, I understand, right?
Right. I moved. Yeah. I mean, I've been playing the States for 10 years. I've been coming for the last 10 years. But yeah, definitely I moved to California in 2016. So it's been almost 6 years. And yeah, super excited, man. California offers me something that Europe couldn't, in my opinion, culturally speaking.
Well, it was a long musical journey to get to where you are now, and along the way, you learned a lot of things and were able to experience a lot of great things that a lot of people don't get to experience. And I think in particular, I'm fascinated by your ability to be a purist on the one hand, but on the other hand, to fuse other genres together and mix stuff up and come up with different things of your own, both acoustically and electrically. And that's part of what I think is really really neat about what you do.
Thank you for the purist mention. Like I wouldn't consider myself a purist, because the real purists sometimes they don't like what I'm doing. And what am I doing? Sometimes they don't like what I'm doing. They're real purists. And what I'm doing, I'm a mix of music anthropologist, I would say. And I mean,
musical
I like
anthropologist. I'm sorry, musical anthropologist.
Kind of, anthropologist. I'm kind of, and I like traveling a lot. So I've been digging, of course, with respect and with devotion and love in a lot of different instruments. But because I've been traveling for the last 20 years through all America, North America and South America, and I have a lot of friends who teach me how to play the tango. Even I don't play it the right and properly, the tango, because I'm not an Argentinian, but I take what I really want from each style to create my own micro universe, my musical universe. So in terms of being I don't consider myself a super specialized guitarist, like as people tend to think like I am more eclectic, and it's not. In my opinion, I took the best thing that I could use from any style in a respectful way, and I did it and bring it to my thing, and I built what I call my voice, which is the character of Twanguero. Twanguero is a word game which means the one who makes the strings vibrate. It's like kind of, so yeah, it's a puzzle. In my opinion, it's a puzzle of different things that I've lived in first person.
Now, you were born in Spain, started playing, you were basically in elementary school, like, what was it, 5 or 6 years old?
Yeah, and at 6 years old, we started, we had a community, in Spain, we call it, in Mediterranean music and Mediterranean, we call it Pulso y Púa. Pulso y Púa is like, it's a school of mandolins and guitar players who plays religion music, basically, for now, like Easter week. So I joined them for the very first time to play, and I wanted to play the mandolin with a pick, but they put me playing the guitar. So I started playing like more chords, accompanying another lead players who were the mandolin players when I was a kid. It was great for me to give me that position of just doing the background to another musician, just to learn how to communicate. But then after that, I decided more to find like a voice, like doing songs without a human voice, but instead of that, just using a unique form of expressing. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know if I get it, but that's what I'm looking for in this life, in this musical life.
one of the things that I read about your early influences was that you were listening to American Western swing, as in Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys and Light Crust Doughboys and all those guys. And you actually, in the show at Ventura, you quoted San Antonio Rose, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, Eldon Shamblin and Tiny Moore, right?
My God. Oh my God, that's they are the pioneers. The pioneers is the right word. The pioneers of the electricity, and they are the link between the old school, the old school guitarists, and when the electricity came and put together, and just right before the rock and roll exploded, that era for me, it's amazing, and
Yeah.
especially. And that's what that's what I am here in California, because the sound of California, that's Fender. That's the brand. That's the real American brand, California brand, Fender.
Yes.
That those days. So I came here to find that Fender sound also. I mean, and I'm not doing branding promotion or anything. It's just the icon, what it means for us musicians coming here to learn how Californians did that amazing sound, and they still do it.
And
that's a important thing.
On the way, I remember this great story that you were telling about. You're a member of a band. I think the artist was from Argentina, and you were on tour with them, and the tour ended in Chicago, and he paid everybody off and sent everybody on their way. And so you're there in Chicago. Okay, what do I do now? Well, I'm in Chicago. What's synonymous with Chicago? Blues. So you seek out Buddy Guy.
Oh yeah, the blues, man. That was 10 years ago. I had some back in the day. I had some problems with my ex-wife, and at that point, and I didn't want to go back to Spain. So, as you said, I got the check for the tour that I was doing. So, hey man, I told to myself, hey, let's stay here. What can I find in Chicago? And I stayed there with my guitar, man, and I just went a couple of days to the Legends, which is the most amazing blues club I ever been. And there were a list to put yourself on a jam session. You put yourself, and they probably will call you. So I sit down there and have a beer, whatever, and they call me. And I was playing with the real blues players. I don't remember who you guys were, but they were authentic Chicago blues players. So that opened me something in mind. So I decided to stay, not to go back to Spain, just to stay for no plans and go south. And then after that, I went down to Nashville and then down to Austin. And I covered all the American territory. So after that trip, I decided to do this project, which is the show that you came to see, which is now in its volume 2.
Yes.
Which was a project where I wanted to basically just to track where the guitar had become in the America's continent. That's the album. Okay, that's the volume 2.
This is volume 2. So tell me about volume 1 and what's on that. I'm not familiar with it.
But volume 1 basically covers the part of North America and the more maybe not the stylistic, because I am not, as I said, a purist, but it covers more the steel string sound, which is for me what represents North America, United States, the steel string, the industrial thing. That's what North America adds to music. The electricity, the engineering, that's what America does. So for me, the volume 1 is more steel string, and of course sounds more towards this ragtime and those, my early influences also, like Chet Atkins, that way of playing and accompanying yourself, that classic. Chet Atkins is one of the first guitar heroes. Before Jimi Hendrix, he was already a guitar hero in the 50s.
Yes.
Before he went to work on RCA, he was vice president of RCA. I mean, he was a huge name in the industry, but he also was the best guitarist for me in the world. So that volume 1 covers more that way of understanding guitar. And this volume 2, I wanted to go back more towards my roots, but via through Latin American guitar, which is an heritage of Spanish music, but developed and improved, in my opinion, the Latin sound. So the volume 2 is more towards the nylon string sound.
Gotcha. You know, you were talking about Chet Atkins and you know, the finger picking style. You know, there's a similarity between that and flamenco. And do you make that, you know, you've found that connection, I'm sure, yes?
Yeah, of course.
Or is it?
You know, I found it from the beginning that the use that they do in the guitar, like the flamencos or the finger pickers, is like they use the guitar as a little orchestra. Because back in the days, it was just a guy accompanying himself and singing and doing the thing. It was not like we had a big band, no. So it contains the purest form of expressing an idea or a musical idea with just one guitar. These guys, Chet Atkins, Andres Segovia, all these great genius, no matter what the style or where they come from, all these great genius use the guitar as the whole vessel of expression, not just a companion or a part of song, but like the main, put the instrument in the first place. Those are the great guitarists, in my opinion. As I said, Paco de Lucia or Segovia, of course, and Mr. Chet Atkins, in my opinion. Merle Travis, of course, Les Paul, you know, all those undeniable icons, you know, in music.
Absolutely. I had the great pleasure to meet and talk with Les Paul many years ago, and wrote the book for his Capitol Records box set in 1991, I think it was. And, what a great thing. But you guys were talking about, what you're talking about is something that I've noticed about all great guitar players, is that because it's only one person, it's not a whole band, playing lead and rhythm at the same time. And great guitar players know how to do that. In other words, by playing bass notes on the top strings and then the lead notes, and it all kind of resonates together, but you're playing lead and rhythm at the same time. And,
right.
and it's like, it's the orchestra effect that you were talking about.
Yeah, and here, especially here in the United States, what happened, what's in my opinion, what is one of the most amazing and mesmerizing forms of that expression, which has its own origin in Spain, but has its form in Argentina, in Brazil. They all have that kind of playing that you can use the guitar as an orchestra. But especially in the Chet Atkins thing. But why? Because of the recordings. Because the recordings of Chet Atkins and Les Paul and all those guys were amazing, because the technology here was way ahead of the rest of the world. So they add an extra thing. They don't just play good, but they record good also. They have the whole thing.
Right.
That's what the Americans in the 50s had, that make them apart from, because good musicians are everywhere, but here you have geniuses like Chet Atkins plus geniuses in technology, and that was amazing, no? Just to have the opportunity of having had guys. I mean, you can listen to Chet Atkins in time. I listen to Chet Atkins when I need inspiration, something like that, and I got it there. Just listening to him or Les Paul, all those guys made a lot for the rest of us.
Sure did. And another guy in the same league would be Tommy Emmanuel. He's from Australia, but pretty well known. And he's one of the few guitar players that Chet Atkins certified as an officially as a guitar player.
Right. That's right, and I believe in that, bad. Like, oh my God, certified guitar player. It's like giving you That's amazing. Tommy, I think Tommy he's a musical genius, of course, but he brought something something new in a guitarist in this way that
Whoops, I think I just lost you.
communicates very well. No,
Okay.
and that's a plus, in my opinion. That's something that he brought. Of course, he's a genius and he developed like super playing that we admire. I admire a lot. Like, he influenced me a lot. But influenced it most, in my opinion, my influence with Tommy Manuel is about the way he stays, the way he does the stage, his presence, his the way he talks, the way he runs the show. It's very personal and it's very brave and it's very his style. He has cat class, you know. He has that of his, which is part of the music business, you know. And he got it, and he really got it, and that makes a difference also, you know, to be a very nice entertainment.
Well, you know, I think one of the other things that I really like about you is that your ability to move kind of effortlessly between acoustic, you know, nylon string and steel string electric, and you know, blaze with a band at the same time. You know, you can play really fine sounds with an acoustic. So you have this kind of one foot in both camps. Is that kind of creative restlessness, or does it just give you a wider palette, a wider range of possibilities for you to express yourself?
I mean, of course, it gives me a wider palette, but also gives me a lot of headaches because I'm switching. It's different instruments. That's another thing because, okay, I've spent a certain amount of time just playing nylon string, but then you have to take care of your nails. And if you switch to the electric, you're gonna break your nails. So it's something that, for me, the transitional times between instruments, it's a little bit dramatic in terms of getting used again to the instrument because, believe it or not, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, like the American type of guitar, and flamenco guitar are three different instruments, starting from the position. So, okay, maybe I seem like I can cover, and I did it. I can cover the three instruments, but I'm not doing the three instruments at the same time. Actually, it's hard. Like if I'm touring now, I'm touring solo. Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna play just nylon, but I have to do like the mix of electric, and it's hard for me to keep the shape, the good shape in the three different instruments, you know. But yeah, mainly I can say because I don't know, I'm a guitar lover. That's my passion. I spent countless hours trying to figure it out and trying to create and trying to learn information from other guys, and and you know, and finally, and after that, all this journey, all these trips that I've been doing back and forth between America, and give me the opportunity of being like super wide, and especially here in LA, I work a lot. I do a lot of recording of nylon string for I don't know, a commercial, and then they will call me to play a twangy, you know. So I'm used to that, but it's hard for me. I have to admit it, to change, to switch. You know.
I suppose that's part of the challenge of being a great guitar player.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't know. Maybe I could have choose like just one path, but I choose the one. It's when I'm talking about styles. I've covered like a lot of different styles. Like for example, I have a cumbia red, which is more cumbia towards rockabilly.
Right.
But then I did this thing, which is more like a classical blend of classical and Latin American thing. And then probably the next idea is like I don't see myself put into terms of styles and everything. So the same I apply with the guitars. No, like
Yeah.
I'm switching. I think it's yeah, and I think it's at least I don't get bored. You know,
Yeah.
bored like
Exactly. Like Al Di Meola is another great guitar player, and he tours. He'll do an acoustic tour, play nothing but acoustic, and then he'll do an electric tour. So he kind of like separates them. And
that's true.
He said, I had a chance to talk with him a few years ago, and he actually, at this point, he prefers the acoustic. He feels he can be more, feels he can be more expressive at this point in his life, using acoustic rather than, you know, ripping on an electric guitar, which is what, you know, all of the fusion maniacs want to hear, right? But you know, when it comes to, you know, his self-expression, he's thinking this is where he wants to be. Anyway, it's different for everybody, but
that's right. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
speaking of beautiful,
sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. I was just going to say, speaking of beautiful guitars, you have this beautiful gold Les Paul that I've seen in a bunch of videos. The Gibson with a big, you know, Bigsby bridge and whammy bar and stuff on it. What's the story behind that guitar? Do you still have that?
Yeah, no, that's the queen of the castle. That's the queen of the castle. That is no. I have that guitar when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I bought it. My parents, of course, helped me to buy it from a guy who used to play. It's a Gibson 295. It's a rockabilly. It's a Scotty Moore guitar,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said Les Paul. It's not a Les Paul. It's got, you know.
No, but it's that AES 295 with Bigsby. It's the Scotty Moore Mystery Train guitar, which I always love it. No, so my parents helped me. They bought it to me when I was a teenager. But then the first day I hung the guitar, and it was too heavy for me. So at that time I was skinny. So okay, I just played from time to time. I was scared about with that guitar. So it stayed like 10 years waiting in my room. I didn't play it at all. But when I was 25 and I became more stronger, I could put my guitar, and that became my electric signature, I would say, because I don't know, I found some position. I mean, the guitar is a tree, man. It's something that it has that kind of, it's alive. And for me, in my opinion, you know what I can feel. So you have to treat her well, whatever. And you know, not having much expectations if you don't exercise your hands. So I found it. It looks like I found my voice with that Gibson. But since I moved to California, I'm a collector of guitar. I have some vintage, some 60s Fenders, Stratocaster. I have the 64 Stratocaster, Jimi Hendrix, the white one. I mean, the same model. So I have some vintage 65 Telecaster, and I play them all. I mean, I'm a fan of guitars, but yeah, that's true. That blonde, that gold top, yeah, I would say that it's my signature sound, electric sound. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, the latest album, we started to talk about it a little bit on earlier on, but the second album, you kind of did the south part of the Americas and went to Costa Rica, but you were on both coasts, and one coast was a little bit too much like California, and the other coast was a little bit more to your liking.
Right. Yeah, I went first to Santa Teresa, which is in the Pacific side, and it was cool. I was there for a month, and I went to play to a couple of private parties, and then I met some super rich guys from Costa Rica. I thought they were going to be Russians or something because they were the owners of the jungle. One of the guy told me, "I am the owner of the jungle." So I kind of experienced that side of the country was more like an extension of Santa Barbara, you know, which I love it. Which is funny, but I say, hey, I'm not going to Costa Rica to be surrounded by California because I live in Santa Monica and I am my Californians there in Santa Monica. Okay, let's try to experience the Costa Rican side. So I went to the Caribbean side, and it was more the Afro Costa Rico, no? Afro Costarricense. That Afro side, I really like that vibe. It was a little bit more dangerous, the city in general, no? but I like also like experiencing that feeling. And it was good. It was good. And in that part, there's a tradition of calypso music and reggae music because there were a lot of workers. It's a very important port in the Caribbean, and it's connected with New Orleans, and it's connected with Havana, and it's connected with Jamaica.
Right.
And you can hear, and I can hear that thing in the musical scene in that part. So I really enjoy. It's like being in New Orleans because they have some common things. The Afro community there, they speak like Creole or something like French. They understand English, of course, but it's a unique thing that keeps like the clave. There's some clave in other side. So that part of Costa Rica was more interesting. Was more. I mean, the other side was beautiful also, but it was very expensive because when you have Canadians, Americans, and Europeans doing vacation, everything is expensive. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
it was for the well of for the good of the project, you know, just to go there and spend.
Yeah, it sounds like the Caribbean side was a much richer experience musically and culturally, and way more inspirational than than the other, and that's great. So how did that inform the music? A couple of the tracks you played in Ventura, you played Samba de la Jungla and Jaguar, as I recall, and maybe one or two others, but those two were particular standouts. But you talked a little bit about communicating with the flora and fauna, with the trees and the animals and nature and so forth, and that kind of came into your music in a way. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
The natural environment was really.
Yeah, the first month there, I just went to study in the morning just to practice. My expectations were just practicing. So that's where I get because the jungle by itself is a symphony, man. Especially in the early hours where the jungle is already awake for that. It's a symphony. So I started like listening to the birds, the local birds, and I realized that they were singing in D major. Those I don't remember, maybe not all the, but those birds were like they were singing like D major. So I said, okay, D major. Well, that's cool. Now I have the drop D wherever. Now. So and it was good. And at some point, I realized that I could even control the cicadas buzz, which was like in the jungle, like when it's hot, like I was playing, and I don't know if my the vibrations would slow down and almost turn off the cicadas. So that experience was cool. Was amazing just to feel that while I was studying.
Man,
so at some point,
if you can shut up a million cicadas, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, man. It's like I was.
Well, maybe they wanted to listen. Maybe they thought what you were doing was more interesting than what they were doing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And also the birds were like, it seemed to me, I mean, I don't have any scientific basis on anything. It was just, I'm a musician, no? But I went every morning, like with discipline. I went every morning, like 6 a.m. I was going there to a little quiet side of the jungle, which is not flat, which is a mess. You know, you have to clean, so I found a little place and I started like rehearsing every day. And it was the quietest place, no signal and no anything. It's nobody there to to break the silence, no. So it was a nice place just to study. And I thought at some point that I felt like the birds were like, some of them like curious, and the monkeys also, day by day after days, they were curious about. They would sing to me like, so it was an experience. Like, being in a natural environment with a nylon string guitar, which is for me is like the closest instrument to a tree.
Closest instrument to a tree. There you go.
You know, it has the form. No, it's like having a son of the forest in your hands. No, so my idea also, my metaphorical idea was also not just going there to study and develop some techniques or whatever, but just doing like an inner offering, like an offer to the trees, you know, like musical offer to the trees, because they gave me this beautiful gift. No? And that is the condition, my life forever.
Now you're getting ready to go back to Spain, right? European tour coming up. How long has it been since you've been? How long has it been since you've been back?
Last tour I did was in August.
Oh, okay. So
last gigs I did was last summer. So yeah, it's been a while, and I have new music. So I'm really excited to do this Iberian tour, which is going to be Portugal and Spain. I'm really excited, especially because I've been like playing a lot this winter, because I didn't have many shows, but I was practicing a lot. So I feel like I'm in shape. We just did this 2 shows very recently in my area, no? You know, in Los Angeles and Ventura. So I'm pretty excited, and the record is having good reviews, especially from my colleagues. You know, the people that I trust. Hey, have you listened? Hey, I love it. That's my colleagues, and then after the show, when you tour, you receive the feedback of the audience, which is amazing, no? Just to have people that connected in some way or another with this new project that I have. We artists work like this, no? You imagine something, you project it, you produce it, you throw it to the world, you're exposed to not being liked, you're exposed to a lot of things, but you just do it. You know, it's like the guy, we just need it. We just need to be, you know, like giving things, releasing things. That's it.
My dad used to say, "No guts, no glory." You got to put it out there if you want it. You know, if you want it to be appreciated, if you think it's worthy of being appreciated, you got to put it out there. Nobody's going to come in.
Yeah.
My little dog is going nuts because dogs in the neighborhood are barking. Anyway, you touched on it earlier. The last thing I wanted to ask you about is I wanted to circle back around to the commercial work that you're doing. Are you doing TV and film soundtracks as well? Is that part of the reason that you're in LA? You're kind of close to studios and kind of on call if when needed, or does that work?
I'm doing a lot. Yeah, I'm doing some work with that kind of stuff, but it's hard to get a soundtrack. I mean, that's for guys who just focus on this thing. I'm touring all the time. I didn't, to be honest, if I got now like a job, like a gig, doing a soundtrack would be a problem because you need a lot of time. So, but basically, I'm doing all the music, original music, that through my publishing company, we are trying to, you know, to pitch this, and we did some series in Netflix in Spain last year. We put in 2 different series, more a rockabilly song that I have and another stuff. So of course, I'm producing all the time music, but that idea that at some point I had it, of course, like, hey, I'm moving to California. California is where the industry is, but also I've been very demanded, like, for touring both in Europe and North America. I mean, it's hard to combine both things. Like, if you want to make it, if you want to work on the soundtrack thing, you should stop touring. I mean, unless you are Hans Zimmer, you know, which is he can write music, score, tour. He's a superhuman, no? Hans Zimmer is a genius. But otherwise, so I'm trying to get some original music, and of course, for example, this new record, Carreteras Secundarias, has backroads, has a lot of music that can be used for soundtrack purposes. And then I'm preparing like an alternative take of the record with strings, the same record, but not just with one guitar, but accompanied with strings.
Oh, nice.
I'm working in that project, but I'm not doing it. I'm just writing little stuff and sending it to Argentina to record some cellos and whatever, some touches. And that's basically that's what I do. Maybe in 10 years, when I get really, really tired of touring, I would say, okay, I hope to be in good shape, but maybe in 10 years, I will focus more on creative music.
Gotcha. Well, I think you were right on when you said there are several tunes on the new album that are worthy of being, soundtrack. I think they're very cinematic, and particularly when you set up with a story, so people kind of can visualize a little bit more about the song as you play it. It's a very kind of there's a visual aspect to your music also, so I think it'll work really well for to accompany films. There was one that was kind of Western sounding. I'm terrible. I'm so sorry. I can't remember the title, but it sounded to me like a theme song for a spaghetti Western almost. Not because, that it wasn't total Sergio Leone, but it still sounded really cool, and it sounded like it would be a very cool Western theme.
Yeah, because the fact of doing the instrumental music can give you another interpretation, no? Because you don't have words, but you can create some spaces. You can create some environments, and for that we have the colors, the palette of colors, and I have it in my guitar with more twangy sound, or with that Spanish that brings you to Spain. We have those resources to do, especially in instrumental music. So that's why I try to. It's like a laboratory. I try to, in a song, I try to tell the story through notes. So it requires a little more time and practicing and developing. It's like it's like doing a Swiss clock, like little pieces. So that's basically what we do, what I do when I write music. So that's what it looks like, that it will fit very good on, and it fits, sometimes, this soundtrack and serious and commercial work. But yeah, we'll see. I'm all the time working on the boat. I have all my mics and my amps, and almost every day I try to record an idea, even if it's a shitty idea. I don't care. I don't judge myself in the morning. I judge myself in the night, maybe. But the first thing that I do is not judge myself. Just try to record everything, just to have a diary of original music, which is never original. It's always reinvented, never copied and reinvented.
Reinvented, right? Yeah, you mentioned your boat. How big is your boat? How many feet is your boat?
It's 38 feet. It's a small boat, but we can have a band. But I can have my band there with percussion, drums, and
you got enough room on the deck for the band. That's good enough, right?
I have room enough for the band, so I love it, because the purpose of having a boat was the intention, just having an office in the West Side but not paying $4,000, but the way I prefer to buy a boat, even if it's a shitty boat, and then I can go there. It's like my office, my workshop. I can make noise. You have to take care. Inside the boat, you have to take care. I have a lot of for the humidity and the humidity, or you have to take care of the instrument. but it's worth it, man, to have a space where your friends can hang, especially in Los Angeles, man. It's so expensive
Yeah.
making it here. And we're musicians, man. We're musicians, and we're trying to make it the best we can.
Well, Twanguero, Diego, it's wonderful to talk to you, and thanks for sharing some of the stories and some of your insight into guitar playing and being an international figure. I wish you nothing but the best going back to Europe and reacquainting with your fans there, and hope you come back soon with more ideas, and hope to see you perform here again soon on the left coast.
Okay, thank you, Stephen, for your time and for this conversation. It's been amazing. Take care, bro.
You too, Matt. Bye con Dios.
Gracias.